It is always super exciting to try out new film stocks. And this time there was 3 different films to try out, all from Mr. Negative. And what better way to try them out than a proper trip abroad? This trip was the one I did earlier this spring to Los Angeles. The flight from Helsinki to LAX is almost 12 hours, and after a few hours in border control, I was welcomed to the US with a nice and warm golden hour. And that golden hour just kept getting better and better, and my itch to try out these new film stocks was growing greater and greater. But when I finally got to the hotel, being awake almost 30 hours straight, I had to call it a day. But one nice thing about jet lag is that you tend to wake up super early. So I wasted no time and loaded my camera with one of those new films that I had with me. I also loaded one local Toro Rosso into myself, just to make sure my inner clock would stay as messed up as possible. Bad Country 400T by Mr. Negative is a tungsten balanced film, meaning it will cool down those yellow lights and it can be used both day and night. I figured the early morning before the sunrise could actually be ideal for this film. Also, extra points for the packaging, I really like it. On their site it says you can use the film in both ISO 400 and ISO 800, but the box bid is marked as 400, so I decided to stick with it since this is my first time using this film. This one also does not have the ramjet layer, so there shouldn't be any noticeable halation. Since it was so early, it was still quite dark outside, but luckily I had my tripod with me, so no issues there. I decided to keep my aperture at 8 to make sure the photos would turn out sharp and crispy. First impressions? I like this film a lot. It has a nice toned down look to it, not too saturated for sure. I also think this location and weather was spot on for this film. All the other hotel cast were still sleeping, so I had the whole premises to myself. I have always found hotels to be quite photogenic, and this one in particular was pleasing to my eye.
It is actually pretty nice to wake up at this hour. It's not quite pitch dark, but still a nice bluish morning, and hopefully these photos will look good.
I think it might be a little bit of a film photography cliché, but taking photos of different corners always works. It doesn't really matter what kind of a corner it is, being a street corner, hotel room corner or a corner store, but they tend to turn out pretty well with film. Also, a safe way to start a new film and get into the mood of analog picture taking. And I guess same can be said about pools. This time I was using my Contax G1 with 45mm f2.0 lens. I should probably do a better video of the camera at some point, but it's basically electronic 35mm rangefinder camera with pretty good autofocusing, released in '94. I have now shot with it for a couple of years, and honestly I have nothing bad to say about it. Definitely one of my favorite cameras. Outside of the hotel I discovered pretty thick fog coming from the harbor. So of course the moody photographer in me was excited to do a morning stroll, carrying my tripod around like the coolest kid in the block. I really like these cool tones in these photos. And also noticed that the greens pop really nice as well. I was feeling pretty lucky and nutty, since I felt like everyone else was still sleeping. I like that feeling a lot, helps me to concentrate to my own thoughts and creativity. Back at home I tend to sometimes stay awake quite late, since I feel like that's when I'm feeling the most creative. But when traveling to the other side of the world, I guess it's the opposite, and I really enjoy these early mornings. It's funny how usually this street looks like a postcard view of LA, and now it was super moody and foggy and cool and almost the opposite of what you think of California. But this is the kind of stuff that I enjoy. I was feeling quite good with my photos that morning, even though of course I couldn't tell how these photos would turn out. But sometimes you're just feeling it, I guess, unlike the person who received these roses. Then I finally found love, and by love I mean the nice quiet street with nice photogenic cars and yards. And as a boy who drives Volvo himself, this old tip of a V70 peeking behind the fence was something that I'm surely wasn't not gonna take some photos of. And I like this a lot. It's a nice mixture of nature and opposite of the nature, I guess. Here I spotted this stop sign reflecting from a window. I thought it would make a nice photo, and I guess it turned out quite well. If you can't tell by now, I'm a sucker for these beautiful American cars parked outside these American houses. I love the aesthetics of these with the post boxes, greenery and walking paths. And this photo might be my favorite of the first row. It is a pretty classic scene, but why change something that just works? And here I also love the colors that this film is producing. It is cool and toned down at the same time. I feel like this photo could work really well if printed out. Luckily that was the last photo of the roll of Backcountry 400T. Not because I wanted the roll to end, but because this other car was gonna ruin my shot. But fortunately the film gods decided to intervene and they cropped that ugly second car out by ending the roll just perfectly. Once again I had an early morning, even though we spent the last night watching Kings play hockey. I actually knew that it was probably gonna rain during that week, so I figured this Zombie 400 would be a nice choice for that day. On Mr. Negative's side, it says that this film is a scary combination of desaturated colors and pretty heavy grain. I am not one of those photographers who live for the heavy grain, but sometimes it is a welcoming addition to spice things up a little. And once again I have to give big kudos for Mr. Negative for the packaging design. I think this is one of the best looking boxes I have seen in a while. Kinda makes me wanna shoot some skateboarding. But instead I started by taking some photos of our traditional Sunday brunch. First impressions? It is super grainy for sure. And the colors are zombie-like, so I guess the marketing is spot on with this one. Actually, I kinda like the combination of these colors and the grain. Most of the colors are super desaturated, but in a good way, I guess. Looks pretty vintage, though not expired. After waiting for several days for this Range Rover to move, I finally managed to take some photos of these two lovebirds casually chilling on the driveway. This Mustang is one of my dream cars, even though I don't really know anything about old cars. But is it too much to ask to have this one with the AC and maybe Apple CarPlay? Nevertheless, I think these desaturated colors work really well with this bright red. Later that night I was walking back to my hotel and decided to take a couple of night photos handheld. This beach building looked like a good subject, and now that I think I should have taken a couple more. Apparently, this film stock looks pretty good also during the night. Next morning it was raining. Not sure if it's me or something, but it always rains whenever I visit Los Angeles. But I don't mind the rain at all, and honestly, I think it just makes photos even better. As I was experimenting with different kind of film stocks, I decided to take some similar photos from the hotel as I did with the Backcountry 400T. That way I think it's easier to compare the differences. Rose Bowl is a nice flea market with lots of vintage stuff like cameras, collectibles, video games and clothing. And my friend actually bought Canon A1 from this vendor. They did have some other cool cameras as well, but they were definitely out of my budget. Maybe someday. Then it was time to leave Los Angeles behind and head towards Joshua Tree. I was riding this old school bus with my friends and managed to shot some film photos on our way there. I actually posted a video of that trip a couple of weeks ago, so if you haven't seen it, go and take a look. After this one, of course. I finished the roll of Zombie 400, and since we were heading to the desert, I figured that the film stock named Daylight Robbery would be ideal for that. This film is originally Vision 3 250D, but with the ramjet removed. And apparently the name comes from the extra chemical process added to the film, so it's not just a repacked Kodak film. The place was just beautiful, and these cool trailers we were staying in the middle of a desert were definitely something that I was going to take some photos of. Especially when the sun was setting so nicely every evening. But then, this happened. And actually, I'm not sure what happened, but something is clearly not right at all. All these photos turned out basically just red with a hint of magenta as well. I scanned these negatives myself and also asked a film lab to do an extra scan without any luck. I did try to color correct some of these in Lightroom, but decided it wasn't worth it. So I guess this is just a good reminder that you never know what you're gonna get when you're shooting film. The sunset was really something, and the silhouette of the actual Joshua trees was breathtaking. But unfortunately, I think these photos were the most damaged ones from the roll. I really would like to know what happened to it. I was really careful at the airport and did ask for a hand check as I normally do with all my films, and I'm pretty sure there was no extra light leaks when I loaded the film. I did try to warm up the camera in a microwave one night when it got really chilly outside, but I'm sure that's not it. But luckily it wasn't a total bust with this film. I actually really like these two photos and might even consider them portfolio worthy. Let me know in the comments what you think. And then, on the last day in the desert, my friend Bryce took us to a really special place. This place is an art installation, or rather an art collection in the middle of Joshua Tree Desert. It's called Joshua Tree Outdoor Museum by Noah Purifoy, and it is quite hard to explain without seeing it by your own eyes. The weather was super nice and the blue sky with beautiful clouds was perfect for some art inhaling. Unfortunately, some of these photos were completely ruined, but I guess we can all see the potential of this one. Or at least I like it. With this one, I actually think the red craziness might have actually saved the otherwise kinda basic photo. Or I don't know, maybe. I also think this one might have been a good one. This building was probably someone's private property, but I only realized that later on. Luckily, I wasn't shot. This control room that looks like my dad's home office was probably my favorite. Lots of cool details, and for me, it's a surprise that people are actually letting everything be and not trashing it as it usually happens when people are left unattended. This was also the last film I took from Joshua Tree. So what can I say about this film? Well, nothing really. Something clearly ruined the film, so you shouldn't take this as a review or anything. I did actually send these negatives to this well-known Spanish film lab to be scanned with their film scanner Noritsu, but I have my doubts it will make any difference. But hey, that's what film photography is all about. You never know what you're gonna get, and I guess that's the beauty of it. Thank you for watching, and if you did last all the way to the end, I salute you. If you did, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think of this extra long video I created this time. See you next time.